Hey guys, welcome to the channel again. First of all, thanks to all of you who have been there last Saturday for the live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun for me as well, and we are definitely going to repeat the experience in April. Many of you guys asked me about the rEFInd bootloader, so I've decided to make a video about that. So let's go ahead and install Arch Linux on a UEFI system with the rEFInd bootloader. Let's get started. So here we are on GNOME desktop, and I'm logged into the terminal with SSH right now. By the way, I'm using another virtual solution today. This is called Virtual Machine Manager. I'm going to cover in a separate video about this because I'm still testing it, but so far I really like it. So let me go back here to the main terminal. So the first thing is internet. If I type in IP space A, I have an IP here on my second interface ending with 7.3 because I have an Ethernet cable here connected. If you have Wi-Fi, you'll type in Wi-Fi-menu, and when you hit enter, you'll see a list of networks. You can select yours and enter the password, and you'll have an IP as well. Now that we have an IP, we can synchronize the network time protocol by typing in time date ctl set-ntp true and hit enter. And let me clean up the terminal. And now I type in lsblk because I want to show you here we have one disk. It's a VDA disk for 100 gigabytes. This is where we are going to install Arch Linux. This is a UEFI system, so we need to partition here the disk with two partitions. One is a EFI partition and the other one is a normal Linux file system partition, a root partition. So let's begin by partitioning by typing in fdisk, our partitioning program, and then the disk path, so /dev/VDA, and hit enter. So this is a UEFI system, so I need to create a GPT label, and I type in G and hit enter, and created a new GPT disk label. And now let's create the first partition by typing in N for new and hit enter. Partition number default is 1, that's fine, so I just hit enter here. I accept the first sectors for default and I hit enter. And the last sector basically defines the size of the partition. So the EFI partition could be between 100 and 500 megabytes, something like this. So I'll type in plus 500 just to be on the safe side and capital M and hit enter. Now created a new partition 1 of type Linux file system, and I want to change the file system type here by typing in T and hit enter. The partition is 1, that's fine. And I know that the EFI file system type partition is the number 1, so I'll type in 1 and hit enter. And you see change type of partition Linux file system to EFI system, and that's fine. So we need to now proceed and create the second partition by typing in N for new and hit enter. Accept partition number 2 by default and hit enter here. Accept the first sector as a default and also the last sector because I want this partition to take the remainder of the disk, so I'll just hit enter. And this is created a Linux file system, and that's fine. So now we need to write these changes to the disk, so I'll type in W and hit enter and clean up the terminal and type again lsblk. And as you can see here, we have VDA1 of 500 megabytes and VDA2 of 99.5 gigabytes. So we created the partitions, now we need to format them. Let's begin with VDA1. VDA1 is our EFI partition, so it has to be formatted with the FAT file system. So we'll type in mkfs for make file system, .fat, and then we need to specify which FAT type we want, because there are two of those. There is a 16 or a 32 type. We want to create the 32 type, so we'll type in dash capital F32, and then the partition path, so /dev/VDA1. And hit enter. Now we need to format also VDA2, our root partition, so we'll type in mkfs.ext4 because I want this to be an ext4 file system, and then the partition path, so /dev/VDA2 and hit enter. There you go. I clean up the terminal, lsblk again to have the partitions names in front of me. Now we can proceed to mounting. So the first partition I want to mount is VDA2 because it's our installation directory. So I'll type in mount, the partition path, so /dev/VDA2, and then the installation directory is /mount, and hit enter. Now we need to mount VDA1, our EFI partition, into the boot directory, which is not existing yet. So we need to create that first. And to create the directory, we'll type in mkdir to make directory, /mount/boot, and hit enter. And now we can mount VDA1 into the boot directory. So we'll type in mount partition path /dev/VDA1 /mount/boot and hit enter. Clean up the terminal and type in lsblk. As you can see here, VDA1 it's mounted under /mount/boot and VDA2 is mounted under /mount. So everything looks good. Now we can proceed by installing the base system, which is going to be installed on VDA2. So we'll type in packstrap. The directory for VDA2 is /mount, as we mounted before. And the packages are base, then Linux, which is going to install the latest Linux kernel, then Linux-firmware, and then an editor, which I'll need later, which is Nano, and hit enter. So it's going to take a moment to download and install the packages, and I'll be back when it's done. So the base system is installed, and I'll clean up the terminal. Now we need to generate the fstab file, our file system table. So for this, we'll type in gen fstab for generate fstab -U, so that means based on the UUID of the partition, then /mount, and then twice the major than sign. That means we are going to append this information to /mount /etc /fstab, which is the fstab file, and hit enter. Now let's have a look at the fstab file by typing in cat /mount /etc /fstab and hit enter. And as you can see here, we have our first partition, VDA2, our root partition. It's UUID here. This is the mount point, our root directory. We have the file system type. We have the options here, and the first 0 is the dump backup, and the number 1 here is the file system check at boot. That means this partition is going to be checked first when we boot the machine. And then we have VDA1, our EFI partition, with its UUID, its mount point, its file system type, its options, and 0 as a dump backup, and number 2. That means it's going to be checked as a second partition at boot. So everything looks good. We can clean up the terminal. And now we can enter the installation and leave the installer by typing in arch-root, and then the installation directory is /mount, and hit enter. As you can see, the login prompt changed. Now we are now in the installation and not anymore in the ISO installer. So the first thing now I want to create is the swap file. So I'll type in fallocate -l 2gb/swapfile. So we are telling the system to allocate a 2 GB file for the swap file and hit enter. Now we need to give the swap file read and write permissions. So we'll type in chmod 600/swapfile and hit enter. Now we can make the swap by typing in mkswap/swapfile and hit enter. And now we can also activate the swap by typing in swapon/swapfile and hit enter. Now we need to put the swap file in the fstab file. So let's type in nano, our editor, /etc/fstab and hit enter. We go down to the empty space and we'll type in /swapfile, then none for the mount point, swap for the file system type, defaults for the options, and then 0 and 0. So no check for the dump backup and no check for the file system type because the swap file doesn't need that. Then Ctrl O and enter to save the file and Ctrl X to exit the editor. And I clean up the terminal and we can move on to our localization stuff. So the first thing I need to do is to work on the time zone. And for this, I'll type in ln-sf/user/share/zone-info/Europe in my case and /Zurich in my case. Your place is accordingly to yours. A space and then /etc/local time and hit enter. So we are basically creating a link between my time zone and the local time file. Now we can synchronize the hardware clock to the system clock. So we'll type in hwclock --sys2hc and hit enter. And now we can work on the locale.gen file for our locales. So we'll type in nano/etc/locale.gen and hit enter. So basically here we need to scroll down and look for the locale we want to use. So in my case, I'm looking for English US. So I scroll down the file here until I see it. There you go. And we have two of those. The one we need is the one which ends with UTF-8. So I uncomment this line here by deleting the hashtag, and then hit Ctrl O and enter to save the file and Ctrl X to exit the editor. Now we need to put also the locale string into the locale.conf file. So for that, we'll type in echo, double quote, lang in capital letters equal the locale string we saw before. So in my case, en underscore us dot utf-8, double quote again. And we will append this information by typing in twice the measured end symbol to the /etc/locale.conf and hit enter. There you go. Now we can create a host name by typing in echo, double quotes. You choose the name basically for your machine. I'll call mine Arch, and double quote again, and append this information to etc/hostname and hit enter. Now we need to work on the hosts file. So for this, we'll type in nano/etc/hosts and hit enter. Move down to the empty space and type in 127.0.0.1. This is our IPv4 address. Tab and then local host. Next line, the IPv6 address, which is : 1. Twice the tab key and then local host again. And in the last line, 127.0.1.1, a tab and then our host name we chose before, so Arch in my case, dot local domain, then a tab again, and then again the host name, so Arch in my case. And then Ctrl O and enter to save the file and Ctrl X to exit the editor. Now we can give the root user a password finally, so we'll type in passwd and hit enter and type in the new password and retype it. Now we need to install the rEFInd bootloader and some networking tools. So let's type in pacman-s. Then the first package is rEFInd-EFI. And because this is a EFI system, we need to install also EFI boot mgr, EFI boot manager. Then we have network manager and also network-manager-applet. Then some wireless tools. So the first one is wireless_tools. Then we have also WPA_supplicant. We have also dialog. Then also two FAT file system packages. One is mtools and the other one is DOS fstools. And then two development packages which I'm going to need anyway. One is base-devil and the other one is linux-headers. The last package I want to install, in my case, this is optional. It's OpenSSH because I need it after for connecting again to my big terminal here. And then when you're ready, you just hit enter. Accept the defaults by hitting enter and proceed the installation by hitting enter. So it's going to take a moment to download and install the packages, and I'll be back when it's done. So the packages are now installed. So let's clean up the terminal. And now we proceed by installing the rEFInd bootloader. So we'll type in rEFInd-install. So if we would hit enter now, the rEFInd install command will install rEFInd with the Arch ISO parameter, which is not what we want. So we need to add also these options here. So we'll type in now --use default, and then we specify our EFI partition, which is, if you remember, /dev/vda1. And then I'm going to go also with the --all drivers option, which is going to install all drivers needed for many systems. And then I can configure rEFInd with the parameters for my system. And then just hit enter. Now the configuration file is not automatically created. So to do this, we'll type in mkrl-conf and hit enter. And now there are two files we need to edit. So let me clean up the terminal first. And I want to go into the boot directory. And so we'll type in cd/boot and hit enter. List the file by typing in ls. And as you can see here, we have one file called rEFInd_linux. So we need to edit first this file. So we'll type in nano. I type in the R and tab to autocomplete and hit enter. And as you can see here, our first two lines are regarding our Arch ISO here, which we don't need. So we need to basically delete the first two lines. And to do this, we'll hit Control K to delete the first line, and again Control K to delete the second one. And now we can hit Control O and enter to save the file and Control X to exit the editor. Now there is another file we need to edit, and that is in another directory. So let's list again here by typing in ls. You see here we have a EFI directory. We need to go in there. So we'll type in cd EFI and hit enter. ls again to list the files. We have a boot directory there. Let's go in there. So we'll type in cd boot and hit enter. Again ls. And we have here our rEFInd.com file. We need to edit this file. So we'll type in nano R with tab to autocomplete and then hit enter. Now this is a very long file and we don't go through all of it. We just need to look the paragraph for Arch Linux. So we'll hit Command W to search and we type in Arch space Linux and hit enter. And as you can see now we are in the paragraph for Arch Linux. So we need to scroll down here until we see these options. And what we need to do here is to replace this UUID with our EFI partition path. So let me delete this line here. And it has to look like root equal /dev /VDA1. And everything else stays the same. Then I hit Ctrl O and enter to save the file and Ctrl X to exit the editor. And I clean up the terminal. And before rebooting, let's also activate the internet. So that is going to be started automatically when we reboot the machine. So we'll do this by typing in systemctl enable network manager and hit enter. And I'll clean up the terminal again and go back to my home directory. And I want to also create a new user already. So I'll type in user add -m capital G, then space wheel, and then the username. So in my case, hermano. So we are telling the system to create a user with the home directory, which is the M option, and which belongs to the supplementary group wheel, which has to do with the sudo. We'll check this later. And then the username. Then hit enter. And the user is created. Now let's give the user a password. So we'll type in pass wd and then the username and hit enter. Type in the new password and retype it. And now we need to give this user sudo privileges. So we'll type in editor equal nano and then sudo and hit enter. So here we need to scroll down and look for the wheel group we talked about before. And we have to be careful because there are two of those and we need to select the first one, which has a all equal all line here, and basically uncomment this line. So that means every user which belongs to the wheel group will have sudo privileges. Then again, Ctrl O and enter to save the file and Ctrl X to exit the editor. Now let's go back to the installer and leave the installation by typing in exit and hit enter. And now we can reboot our machine by typing in reboot and hit enter. And I go down to my main terminal here. And if everything went well, we will be greeted by the rEFInd bootloader, which is there. So we have here options to boot our system. We have here option about rEFInds. We have option here to manage the hidden tags, to shut down the computer, reboot the computer, and reboot to the computer setup utility. But I want to boot my Linux installation, so I'll just select the penguin here and hit enter. And I log in with my username and my password. So first I check if I have an IP already, and I type in IP space A. As you can see here, I have an IP ending with 24 on my Ethernet connection. If you have Wi-Fi, we'll check this in a moment. First, let me activate my SSH connection so that I can go back to the big terminal. So I'll type in systemctl start SSHD and hit enter. Enter my password. And there you go. So let me go back to the big terminal here and clean it up. And now type in SSH hermano at 192.168.122.74 and hit enter. Accept the fingerprint here and enter my password. And there you go. I'm logged into my virtual machine. So the next step now is to install our graphics drivers. So we'll type in now sudo Now I need to type sudo because I'm logged in with a regular user. And then pacman -s. So I am in a virtual machine here, and what I need to install now it's xf86-video-qxl. I'll show you the packages for Intel, AMD, NVIDIA in a second. Let me first install my drivers here. Enter my password and hit enter. And hit enter to proceed with installation. Now, if you have an Intel card, you replace basically QXL with Intel. If you have an AMD card, you replace Intel with AMD GPU. And if you have an NVIDIA card, you replace the whole thing here with NVIDIA and the package NVIDIA-utils and hit enter. So go ahead, hit enter and install your drivers. Once you have done that, we can proceed by installing the display server. So to do this, we'll type in sudo pacman-s xorg and hit enter. Accept the defaults by hitting enter and proceed with installation by hitting enter. And it's going to take a moment here to download and install the packages, so it shouldn't take too long. There you go. So I clean up the terminal here. And the next step is to install the display manager. So this is going to depend on what you want to install as a desktop environment. I want to install this time KDE, so I'll type in sudo pacman-S Stdm. This is the display manager for KDE. If you want to install GNOME afterwards, you can install now GDM, which is the GNOME display manager. But I want to install Stdm. So I'll type in Stdm and hit enter. Accept the installation by hitting enter. And that's pretty quick. So I'll clean up the terminal now. We need to now enable the display manager so that it's going to be started automatically at boot. So we'll type in sudo systemctl enable Stdm in my case. If you installed GDM, you replace Stdm with that. And hit enter. There you go, and clean up the terminal. And the last thing we need to install is the desktop environment. So if you want to install GNOME, you will install now sudo pacman-s. The first package is GNOME. And the second package, which is optional, is GNOME-extra. But I want to install KDE, so the first package is Plasma. Then I want to install also KDE-applications. And if you want to have user directories like photos, videos, documents, and so on, you can install also xdg-user-dirs. And if you plan to update the packages via the Discover Software Center in KDE, you need to install also package kit-qt5. And when you're ready, you just hit enter. Accept the defaults by hitting enter. One more time the defaults by hitting enter. And one more time, and then proceed with installation by hitting enter. So it's going to take a moment to download and install the packages again, and I'll be back when it's done. So the packages are installed. Let me clean up the terminal. Now I want to exit the SSH here by typing in exit. You don't need to do this. What you will do now is go back to the normal terminal and we'll type in reboot. And if everything went well, we will have KDE up and running. So let's type reboot and hit enter. We will be greeted again by our rEFInd bootloader. There you go. And I hit here the penguin. And then enter my password here and hit enter. And we have KDE here. I'll go full screen. And I need to configure now the display as it's not configured correctly. So let me go to the system settings here and go to display configuration. And I'll choose my resolution and bump up here the global scale to 200% and click apply. Now I need to log out once from KDE for the changes to take effect. And again, type in my password. And there you go. Everything is now configured correctly. So the first thing is I make this bar here a little bit bigger. There you go. And so let me pull up the terminal here by typing in console. There you go. And I'll go full screen and increase the font size so that you can see better and check for updates. So sudo pacman-s yyU to update the packages and the database. My password and the system is up to date. And so this is how to install Arch Linux with the rEFInd bootloader. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and if you did, please hit the like button below and subs to the channel if you haven't already. Subs really helps us out, guys. And if there is anything specific you want me to cover or you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.